Translate this and my salary is yours, but the maid made the millionaire look ridiculous. Don't forget to comment which country you're watching from. The meeting was formal and tense. In the center of the hall, a man in a flawless suit held a document with an air of superiority. He was Mr. Esteban Ramos, a powerful and arrogant businessman known for looking down on anyone he considered beneath him. Standing in front of him, upright and dignified, was Luisa, a young domestic worker who had spent years serving in the same mansion without being noticed. Esteban smirked, lifted the paper, and threw his challenge before everyone. Translate this into English right now. If you get it right, today's salary is yours, but if you fail, you'll be cleaning the bathrooms alone this week. Uneasy laughter filled the room. Luisa pressed her lips together but didn't move. Her eyes were steady. Esteban enjoyed every second of his display of power. He knew the document was full of legal jargon, drafted by his attorneys in complex English. He never expected Luisa to know anything beyond vacuuming. "What's the matter? Too hard for a maid?" he pushed, as employees exchanged awkward glances. But no one knew that years earlier, Luisa had abandoned a translation career to care for her sick mother. She had studied with sacrifice, but life had forced her onto another path. And now she was being humiliated by a man who didn't even know her last name. The CFO grew uneasy. "Enough, Esteban. This isn't professional." But Esteban ignored him. Raising his voice, he insisted, "If you can't, just admit it. No one expects someone like you to understand international contracts anyway." Luisa stayed silent, boiling inside, not from pride, but from the way this man believed he had the right to demean her in front of everyone. The paper wasn't the point. This was humiliation disguised as a joke. A young secretary leaned closer and whispered, "Don't mind him, he's always like this. Sometimes he goes too far." Luisa gave no reply. This wasn't the first time Esteban mocked service workers. He had once fired a gardener for not greeting him enthusiastically enough, and another time reduced a cook to tears for correcting his French pronunciation. To him, respect had a price, and those who didn't earn enough didn't deserve it. But this time, he had gone too far. Luisa stepped forward, took the document from Esteban's hand without a word, and examined it carefully. Esteban leaned back, ready to laugh. "Come on, amaze us, mop prodigy." But Luisa ignored him. Her eyes scanned the text quickly and confidently. Murmurs filled the room. Some employees began recording with their phones. Esteban didn't notice. He was too sure of himself. "Everything all right? Need help with the letters?" he teased, raising his eyebrows with fake concern. Luisa lifted her gaze slowly and spoke clearly. "This contract states that the company shall cover 80% of operational expenses during the first quarter and that any disputes will be settled under New York jurisdiction, according to Clause 7.2. The room froze. Esteban's mouth opened, but no sound came out. His face shifted from arrogance to shock and shame. One committee member whispered to another, "She really understood all of that." The other just nodded, mouth open. Luisa took a deep breath, returned the paper to Esteban, and turned to leave. But he stopped her. Wait, that must have been memorized. Someone told you. You can't possibly know English at that level." His voice was no longer mocking but desperate. He couldn't allow his ego to collapse in front of everyone, but in trying to discredit her, he only dug his hole deeper. Luisa didn't reply to him. Instead, she turned to the CFO and asked, "Would you like me to summarize Clause 9 as well?" He nodded, intrigued. She did so with flawless precision. The room fell silent. Esteban stood pale, hands trembling, while the same employees who had laughed earlier now stared at him with disdain. At that moment, the HR supervisor stood and said, "That's enough. This kind of behavior will not be tolerated again in this company." But Esteban, desperate, spat out the cruelest line. "Surely you learned it by sleeping with some gringo." The room erupted in outrage. Luisa froze. Employees rose to their feet, some demanding respect, others recording discreetly. The CFO slammed his pen on the table. "Esteban, you just crossed a very dangerous line." But Esteban didn't grasp the gravity. He smiled nervously, as if waiting for someone to laugh with him. No one did. Luisa's eyes glistened, not with shame but with a mix of anger and unshakable dignity. "This is absolutely unacceptable," the HR supervisor declared firmly. "This meeting is suspended until further notice. Luisa, please come with me." But Luisa didn't move. She stepped slowly into the center of the room and spoke with a strong voice. "For years you have called me invisible. I cleaned your floors, served your coffee, washed your windows, but today you made me visible, and I won't leave without saying what I need to say." The silence was heavy. I didn't study to clean offices. I gave up my career to care for my mother, who passed away never knowing I'd return to books one day. I wore this uniform to survive, but I never stopped being who I was. And today, I see this place was never ready to watch someone like me shine, because when we do, you tremble. Esteban tried to interrupt, but the HR supervisor silenced him with a gesture. Luisa locked eyes with him. "And if you think I am worth less because I'm a maid, Mr. Ramos, then the problem isn't me. It's you." The company's legal director finally stood up. "Luisa is right. And as the head of the ethics committee, I demand this case of discrimination and verbal harassment be taken immediately to the board. We cannot let this company's culture be built on contempt." Esteban swallowed hard. His power was gone. Only his shame remained. At that moment, a foreign investor who had been watching from the corner approached Luisa. "Your English is flawless, and your character admirable. I am looking for an interpreter for my operations in the region. Would you be interested?" Luisa hesitated, unsure if it was a trap, but the woman's eyes spoke truth. For the first time in a long while, someone saw her worth beyond her uniform. The meeting was over. Esteban's apology no longer mattered. The video was already circulating. His image, his reputation, everything was crumbling. Luisa removed her apron, folded it neatly, and placed it on the table. "I'm not ashamed of the work I've done all these years, but I refuse to keep being treated as if I'm worthless." She walked toward the exit. People stepped aside respectfully. Some watched with tears, others with admiration. Esteban remained in the center, still clutching the paper, not realizing yet that what he had lost was far more than an argument. It was his dignity. Remember this: you never know who is behind the mask. Appearances can deceive, but respect and dignity should always remain non-negotiable.